Welcome to the MVP Show. Full show notes for this episode can be found at nz365guide.com/267. Before we chat with today's guest, here's a quick message from our sponsors. Today's show is brought to you by the 90-Day Mentoring Challenge. I cover the following key areas to grow your career: communications, consulting, technology, Microsoft and the Microsoft Power Platform community, engagement, personal brand, and the career paths that you can choose from if you're going to work in the space. If you want to be mentored in the next 90-Day Mentoring Challenge, please go to nz365guide.com/mentor. Now let's get on with the show. Today's MVP is from Sydney, Australia, originally from the UK. She's a customer experience specialist, Dynamics and Power Platform for DXC Technologies. She's a first-time MVP. She's also a certified Les Mills instructor for Body Pump and Body Attack. She's into Sunday Fun Day. That involves jigsaw puzzles, hiking, kayaking, open water swimming. I can't read the rest of it. It's so bloody long. She is a pimp. She said it herself just before I jumped on this recording. She goes, I am a pimp. Of course, well known for LinkedIn pimping my profile. So she pimps people's profiles on LinkedIn and tells you what's good, what's bad, and what you need to improve with your profiles. This is none other than Amey Holden. You can find her on Twitter at Amey Holden. Amy, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here, Mark.
Now, how was that intro?
That was pretty good. I've never actually been introduced as a pimp before, but I kind of like it.
I kind of like it. Very cool, very cool. And of course, you know, we've had some backwards and forwards over the last year or two. And you came, when did you end up moving to Aussie?
Just over 2 years ago now. It's absolutely flown by.
Wow. And what do you miss about home?
No, I don't miss the weather. No, just the people. The place, I'm not fussed. I miss the people.
Okay, what part of the UK were you from?
Actually, the northwest, so Lancashire.
Mm-hmm.
But then I've been all over the place in the north, so university in Newcastle upon Tyne, not Newcastle, Australia. And grew up a bit in the lovely Harrogate in North Yorkshire.
What's Nottingham famous for? That would be who's that little guy that stole off the rich and gave to the poor?
Nottingham. I've never been there. Newcastle.
Sorry. Why did I think Nottingham? Like I just diverted to Nottingham. Newcastle, yes, I've been through Newcastle. It is, yes.
Newcastle's known for Geordie Shore, I think, is the most iconic thing.
Yes, I was getting my Nottingham and Newcastle mixed up. And of course, that's why you clarified that you weren't talking about Newcastle north of Sydney in Australia.
Yes.
Righto. So you're a first-time MVP, is that right? How many months?
So I was what I think I call myself as a COVID MVP. So my MVP started on when COVID landed in March this year, 2020.
Wow, that's time has flown past. It's been a crazy year. What's it been like for you?
See, I didn't find, I'm going to sound really arrogant, but hey, I didn't find the MVP thing so overwhelming because I was too busy being overwhelmed by COVID. I think the whole, just like I love routines. The routine is just my life. So when the COVID thing just threw everything out that I ever did. So that I was too busy freaking out about that than to be freaking out about being an MVP. And it was actually quite a nice distraction to just do the MVP stuff rather than having to worry about COVID.
So, yeah, and that totally makes sense. And it's kind of, I don't know, does it feel a bit like an anticlimax in this year? And that, you know, I saw a lot of MVPs that got awarded before then. And of course, around March is when we go to MVP Summit in Seattle. And of course, you get to meet everybody and it's really, really fun. And then that got canned. And then next year's has got canned. That's not going to happen. It's a virtual event, which is great for learning about the tech, but so misses that human connection. I'm wondering, like, do you think that'll impact you much? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I think because I never knew what it was like before, I guess it doesn't hurt as much. But I am not I am so over virtual events. I cannot do them. I don't watch TV. I don't even have a TV in my apartment. I don't watch videos. So the thought of attending a virtual event just makes me die inside. So for me, going to events is all about the connection and meeting people. So I hope it happens one day, but I guess the pain wasn't as bad because I never had it.
I was asked earlier this week. I was actually, being interviewed for a podcast in Europe, and they said, where have you been speaking at this year and stuff? And I said nowhere, because the way I speak. To a degree, I do work off the energy of the audience, so I want to have eye contact. I want to see where people are disagreeing with me because perhaps I didn't illustrate a point clearly enough. And you don't get that when you do a virtual event, right? You don't have that kind of, and I'm a very, energetic person. I mean, you've seen me do my stuff where I'm live on camera, and I do try and bring energy, and even, what I'm referring to there is the 90-day mentoring challenge is that I still even find that hard when I can't get the visual indicator that people are engaging, or am I boring them to tears type thing.
Definitely agree. I find it surprisingly, I'm actually pretty introvert. I can do extrovert, but only at choice. So I find things like presenting really draining. But if I can present to a crowd, I get a lot of energy from it. But if I'm presenting to a screen, to a camera, to a black screen of Teams with blobs on it, I come away from that and I just feel high, dry, sad.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's very hard when there's no feedback. Like, I don't know. Sometimes you wonder, like, you put so much effort into doing something and then you just get crickets, nothing. Like, did it suck? Was it good? Like, can you fill in an eval? And you get like 1% of the people fill out an eval because, they couldn't even give that amount of time to give you, did you do okay? It is hard, isn't it?
It is really hard. And people only fill in those things when they either love you or they absolutely hate you.
Yeah. And they want to bag you out. You made a mistake. Yeah.
You can't gauge it. It's making it hard. I think it's great for people that aren't used to presenting because it's a really safe place to get your first presentations in. But if you want to improve and you're already reasonably confident presenting, I feel like it helps you feel like I'm hitting a bit of a plateau.
Yeah. I'm wondering if like I say so much about this time that we're in, that I think this is one of those shifts in the world and society that we won't just be back to normal anytime soon. I'm talking years out. Is it one of those shifts where we start to invent new ways of doing things that I think might result in better outcomes? Because I just don't know that, we're going to necessarily revert to the old way things were done around in-person events anytime soon, even though everyone's thinking, like I've seen a lot of people had a lot of conversations where people think we're just going to bounce back there. And I think what it's preventing us doing is going, okay, how does the new world run? How do we do it if this is never, ever going to change again? We're always going to be virtual. How do we do that and bring the fun and bring the energy and bring the engagement when that's our lens?
Yeah, and I think there needs to be like a massive change. Like, normal isn't going to be what normal was. It'll be I hate using this term, but the new normal. We need to change. We need to make it work now how it is. And I think there's definitely a lot of space to be done in there. Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, one of the big things that I ponder at the moment is how do you do community if you move the tech piece out of that equation? In other words, so much of what community has evolved around is sharing technical knowledge. But I think there's a community element that we also had that was a byproduct of sharing technical knowledge, which was connection with people like me. So often we are in a situation where, our families have no idea what we do. It's kind of like, I don't know, they do something in IT and that's it. Let's not talk about it anymore because it's boring. And it's very hard to engage, if you like, with family and friends that are not in the technical space, because one, what I've noticed is that it's very easy for them to feel like they are inferior to you. And what I mean by that is that, I've recently had a guy working on my property, digging, landscaping, all this kind of stuff. And he's an amazing engineer and very much an artist in what he does. And, we talked about his Facebook profile for his business and that type of thing. And straight away, it's just like, man, I know nothing about IT. And it's just, and he started to infer that I was intellectually superior to him. And yet he was a massive, amazing creative. He just had never, taken an IT focus on the world. And I think there's that need for us in our community to have still that people just like me that understand me and get me and have the same challenges as me in a way.
Yeah, I think it's also to have people to challenge you as well. Because your family and your friends look up, you're like, oh, you're doing so well. It's amazing. And that's great. They have no idea though. And it's really good to be surrounded by people that can always help you improve and get better. And also it's that thing like, oh, you work in IT. Can you fix my computer? Like we've all been there, right? And you go, oh, hold on a second, let me Google that.
Yeah. Well, that happened exactly this weekend. I had this message, is that from this person text me right on the weekend. And remember, I've been away from New Zealand for 7 years. And this person texted me very conversationally, like they knew me. And of course, it just comes up with unknown number for me from whoever this came from. And they were like, I need to talk to you about some Microsoft stuff. I'm sorry I didn't see you last week. I got some Microsoft questions. And I'm like, who are you? And so I messaged back and said, oh, sorry, I don't quite know who this is. And she was like, I was your first boss. And this is like, I've been working for 30 years. Like,
oh my gosh.
This is, and it happened to be my auntie. And like, this is my phone number from then, like insulted, like, why isn't it in your contact list? And I'm like, I've like had about 15 phones since then. And she was like, oh yes, I just need to talk to you. And so I get on the phone with her and she was like, yeah, I'm on my Windows 10 machine. It's telling me I need to upgrade to Windows 10 Pro. And like, how do I do that? And I'm like, I have no idea. Like I haven't built a PC from scratch for about 10 years. Like, I used to do that, and it was just exactly that. Let me Google that for you. And I went back and said, do this once I'd found out the answers. And yeah, bizarre, right? Bizarre.
It is crazy.
So you're an MVP now, and so therefore you're a rock star, superstar. You're in the celebrity crowd. Not apparently. But no, tell me, what is it? What are you going to do for good, and how is it going to affect? Particularly, you've got to focus on Dynamics 365 marketing. How is your insights, probably that you're getting into, information with the product team? How is that helping you be better in your life, your role, your jobs, your things like that?
Yeah. So when I first became an MVP, I was like, so what does this mean? Like, I don't get it. And now, because I adopted marketing as somewhat of a baby child unwanted thing, a couple of years ago, and it's now really helping me out. So I'm working with one of my customers with Dynamics marketing, and I did the full thing for them. I've been working with them for about a year. So it was a really good place for me to roll out the whole thing because I knew the company, I knew the business, I already had the relationships. And it was a really nice way to do it, that it wasn't just about the delivery, which I think is really important with Dynamics marketing, that it's not a lot of the things that you implement, like you press the button, you install it. That's after it's installed, that's when the work starts. And it was really good to be able to spend time with the customer and build the templates with them and run them through all their campaigns and teach them, but also have that chance to sit side by side with them and empower them and get them to teach others. But also along the way, find and see like the real business problems that normally when you do a demo, you just brush over them. And really finding those real problems and then being able to reach out to the product team via the private groups and being able to get through to those people because of who I am has been a huge help. And the help that they've given, like, is things that I would have probably never worked out or nutted my head against. And I've just found them so helpful to actually get to the bottom of the problem, but also to get the feedback back to them, because I'm guessing they don't use it on a day-to-day basis. So it's full circle, right?
Yeah. I was heavily involved with D365 marketing back in the day. And I'm saying when it was released, which actually was when I was traveling a lot at the time, and I'd jump on these calls. I remember from Croatia with the folks running the D365 marketing, which incidentally, the leads, etc., are no longer even working at Microsoft. And I asked this question one day, and it kind of blew me away, the answer. So I was on one of these, private calls, and as in, giving feedback. This is the product was going to be launched and released, and there was a scenario that I had commonly come across in marketing landscape, particularly in banking, while I was working in Australia, and they had put a limitation on how the sends, etc., worked, because they just hadn't contemplated the scenario that anybody would want to do it. And it was like a very practical scenario that big clients would absolutely do. And it struck me that I'm like, did you just build this product based on here's a list of things that you must put in the application, go build it? Or did you actually engage with a user audience that are that uses tech? And one of the things I did, I said, who's the demo that this bit of software is for? Because sometimes software is so built for technical people, but not the actual people that use it. It's like it's built for installers, it's built for customizers, it's built for people that configure it, but they don't think about who's the person that sits in that seat week after week. It's their job to do this, and what's their experience. And I even said, commonly, who is the audience? Is it male or female? And they're like, oh, we can't say that, and it can't be sexist. Or I said, this is not that type of conversation. The question is, do you understand the profile of the person using it? Because by that point, I'd worked with marketing agencies in Sydney, and this was on behalf of Microsoft, to promote the product. And they were predominantly, I was in a room that were 99% female marketers, that were using it. And they would look at this and they would just see a bunch of technical goo that they had to learn. And they're like, we don't learn this stuff. Like, if we want to create an email template, we don't want to, know how to put this code and that piece in there. And like, it should just work, And I said, so how many marketers are actually on the product development team, that have a background in marketing? And it was just silence. Nobody made a comment. And like, I'm very big on using silence, right? So I had no follow-up question. I just waited. And then it got awkward silence. Like, nobody was saying anything. And then one of the people at Microsoft said to the product owner, are you going to answer his question? And of course the answer was none. And I was like, I think there's your problem. You don't understand actually who the end user is of this product. You've maybe a technically sound product, awesome, but Adobe has a very good way of understanding who the user of the Adobe Marketing Cloud is, and are effective in it, and Marketo and all the other ones. So what's your take on now? Because I've been out of it for some time. What's your take on where marketing, Dynamics 365 marketing is now? What's the customer's appetite? I haven't sold it in years. So what are you seeing now from a customer perspective, a usability perspective, all those good things?
Yeah. So I think my experience with my customer at the minute, they're coming from basically nothing and using MailChimp and Outlook. So for them, it's amazing. And the marketing assistant, the marketing lead is, she's come from a background where she's had marketing automation tools in the past. So she has loved it. And it's been really great to actually have her as a bit of a champion, because it's helped to push it out and encourage the rest of the team to get on board with it. So that's always a massive help. There's some stuff that I find myself celebrating that's there that I realize should have been there all along. But it has come on in leaps and bounds, especially the latest release wave. They've got a lot more of this. You can look at a customer journey and you can pop out the email that you're sending at that point, and you can pop out the segment, and you're not doing all this page switching, context switching. So that is long overdue, but really, really nice experience. So yeah, I think it's showing some massive improvements, especially over the last year, and I'm finding it much easier to encourage people into it. I would say there's still work to be done. There always is, right? But now the problems are much smaller. I think the only gap is, it's always been my bugbear, which is around the social media side of stuff.
Yes. Agreed. And are you talking about the ability to automate posts and things like that?
Yeah, so there is a bit of it, but it's also about getting the analytics back from it. So I know there's a lot of limitations because social media's locked down their APIs and it's difficult, but I think a lot of software tools do it already. So that's the biggest gap for me. They have brought out some improvements in the latest release wave, but they're not as exciting as I'd hoped.
Yeah, they should be able to pull right everything that is available. I know there's limitation. I saw Facebook close down their APIs over time, and they're all wanting you to use their proprietary, analytics engine, Twitter, etc. But there is an amount that you can, and then of course, hey, Microsoft off, own RPA, tool set now, and you could always just go up and scrape that stuff, surely. Apart from there's probably some licensing implications, of course, around that. But no, good point. But I think even the ability, right back in Marketing Pilot, which was an acquisition years ago in the marketing space, there was a whole tool that allowed automation of posts out on Twitter, Facebook, things like that as part of a campaign, right? So in other words, when someone's running an event, it's T minus 30 days or T minus 60 days from that event, right? Or T plus 10, 10 plus, 60, whatever it is. And it's because all these activities that make up part of the making sure that wherever your audience is, they get the message, right? Whether they're on social, whether it's in email, whether it's, a TVC, whatever it is. And so it was great to see that on a timeline. This tweet's going to go out there and it's going to drive traffic to that form and that's going to create a registration, blah, blah, blah. And I think that's part of that holistic journey that definitely needs to be in a marketing platform.
It is as well, like with marketing as well today, like marketing emails is not the only marketing, and it's much more about the inbound, building your brand, being out and about, being on social media and people coming to you. It's way, way, way more powerful than just blasting people with emails. So you need to be able to do that as a successful company in today's world, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. Any updates that you're seeing around, with COVID that's happened this year, we've seen a massive investment in Microsoft Teams, and it's become phenomenal as in around how team meetings are now, whether it's team together, lots of great features. And I know Net24, was it the third-party conferencing kind of tool or virtual meetings tool that was part of marketing? Have they now fully integrated to Microsoft Teams so that you can auto send out a team meeting and drive a virtual meeting or virtual event via D365 marketing? Yeah,
so previously the only pre-built or integrated for you was On24.
On24, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. So it was pretty nice what they'd done, but obviously it's another license, it's another acquisition for the company, it's another system to look after, everything. So yes, in the latest release wave, they've integrated Microsoft Teams, which again, I celebrated, but then I was like, that should have been done a year ago. But no, it's really nice because you can run Microsoft Teams meetings or live events.
Awesome.
And the integration is really neat. So when you set up the live event, for example, you can add in Dynamics Marketing, you add the speakers and you add the producers, and that actually adds them on the Teams side to have the right permissions.
Nice. Okay, so that's cool. What about things like attendance? So, you invited 50 people, 25 showed up. Who are the 25 that showed up? What was their kind of engagement level? Is there any telemetry around that?
Yeah, so when you send out the invitation with the email and link, it's got a little unique ID for the registration. So when they register and when they attend through the link you send them, it actually tracks them into the meeting so you know if they've registered and if they've actually attended.
Fantastic.
So they've done the whole thing. It is so slick. I freaking love it.
That is golden. Wow, so cool. Look at this. We've already blown our time out. It's so easy to chat with you, but I always love to end this with a few quick fire questions. Are you ready?
Yay. I'm so ready.
Okay. So often, I vet my questions at the very last minute based on whether I think someone would have the propensity to answer some of them. I didn't with you. I just took all the ones as they landed because I know you can handle them all. So here you go. When have you spoken out when it would have been easier to say nothing?
Oh, every day. Something that I've spoken out about. Oh, I can't think of a specific one, but I'm pretty good at speaking and then thinking sometimes. So no specific events I can think of. Damn.
Cool. That's all right. What are your core values?
My core values.
Mm-hmm.
That's a deep one.
It doesn't need to be.
I think for me, it's about being genuine, being honest to myself, and doing things that I love.
Nice. That's good. That's good. I love it. What failure do you feel embarrassed to talk about?
Does it count as a failure? Yeah, it does. So I set out this year to run a marathon, and then I tore my hamstring, and I still can't run. And it makes me really, really sad because I absolutely love running, and I feel like a failure because I still can't run. I feel like my body's failed me, and I'm really disappointed in it.
I think the audience will forgive you and would consider that kind of extenuating circumstances. Describe a time when you believed giving up was the right thing to do, but regretted it in hindsight.
Do you know what? I am like a dog with a bone. If I want to do something, I don't give up. So I don't think I've ever given anything up and regretted it.
Love it. Awesome. Great answer. What part of your life have you still not figured out?
How to be a grown-up.
I love it. That's the same for me. Oh, man, the amount of times my family say, grow up to me, and I'm like, why? Yeah, I love it. I love it.
So yeah, I just keep running away from being a grown-up. That's why I ended up in Australia. It was either like be a grown-up, buy a house, or move to Australia. Yep, I'm here.
Last question. Do you think it is ever possible to be an overnight success?
No way. You can be a flash in the pan, but you'll fade out as quick as you came in.
Interesting. Amy, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, Mark.
Hey, thanks again for listening. It's been a pleasure to have you with me. I'm your host, Business Application MVP Mark Smith, also known as the NZ365 guy. Or if you're in America, the NZ365 guy. But in New Zealand, we say NZ. Anyhow, aside. If you've enjoyed the show, please like and subscribe on your favorite podcast player. If you would like to leave a review, go to nz365guy.com/review. You can see all my reviews to date and choose the platform that you want to leave a review on as well. Otherwise, stay safe out there and see you next time.